Welcome to FYIVT, your inside source for news and in-depth analysis on what's really happening in Vermont. We want to start by saying thank you to all our listeners and supporters. Your continued encouragement fuels our mission to dig deeper and bring light to critical issues that shape our communities. We couldn't do this without you. Today, we're diving into our article titled, The Rogues Gallery, Activism in Vermont. In Vermont, a network of activist groups, environmental lobbyists, and political actors is shaping policies that are driving up costs for everyday citizens and local businesses. Have you ever wondered who's behind the skyrocketing energy bills or the restrictive regulations on small businesses? It's not just about going green. It's a carefully coordinated effort between organizations that often align with global agendas, not local interests. Efficiency Vermont is a name many Vermonters recognize. As the state's primary energy efficiency utility, it's supposed to help save energy and lower costs. But here's something most people don't know. Efficiency Vermont is administered by the Vermont Energy Investment Corporation, or VEIC. VEIC isn't just a local organization. It's a national nonprofit with a global reach, promoting energy efficiency projects from coast to coast and even internationally. What does that mean for Vermonters? VEIC is funded through the energy efficiency charge you see on your utility bills. That's right, every ratepayer contributes, whether or not they participate in these programs. And the money doesn't just stay in Vermont. It helps fund VEIC's projects across the U.S. and abroad, aligning with global goals like the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Agreement. Think about this for a moment. Vermonters are paying into a system that not only raises energy costs at home, but also supports international initiatives that many of us didn't sign up for. How is that fair? And here's the kicker. VEIC and Efficiency Vermont then use those same funds to lobby for stricter energy policies within the state, policies that drive up electricity rates. It's a vicious cycle. Vermonters pay more, and VEIC expands its reach. Does that sound like it's working for you? Or is it working for them? Then there's 350 Vermont, or 350VT, the state chapter of the global climate organization 350.org. They're dedicated to fighting climate change and ending fossil fuel use, which sounds noble on the surface. But when you dig deeper, you see the impact their policies have on working-class families and small businesses. 350VT's campaigns often call for fossil fuel divestment and strict renewable energy mandates. While these goals align with global movements, they don't always consider the economic realities of rural Vermonters. How does a farmer already struggling to keep their operation afloat handle soaring energy costs? How does a small business compete when overhead keeps climbing due to these mandates? This isn't just about numbers on a balance sheet. It's about survival. Imagine trying to make ends meet when every new policy chips away at your ability to provide for your family. Is that the kind of future we want for Vermont? And what about the Sierra Club? They've got a strong presence in Vermont, too, pushing for renewable energy projects, carbon taxes, and restrictive land use policies. These initiatives sound progressive and forward-thinking, don't they? But ask yourself this: who benefits most from these policies? Is it the working family trying to heat their home in the dead of winter? Or is it the activists in Montpelier and beyond, driving their global agendas? Even organizations like the Vermont Natural Resources Council and Energy Action Network are deeply embedded in this activist ecosystem. They support legislation like the Global Warming Solutions Act, which mandates statewide carbon emission reductions. But mandates don't come cheap. These policies often mean higher utility bills, increased taxes, and tighter restrictions on local businesses. Who ends up footing the bill? That's right, it's you. And let's not forget Vermont conservation voters. This group works tirelessly to elect legislators who will push progressive climate policies. They release voter guides, make endorsements, and hold politicians accountable. On the surface, it's democracy in action, but it's also a feedback loop. Public funds support these organizations, which then work to elect officials who will implement policies that drive up costs for the very people funding them. Here's a question. When public funds are used to elect politicians who serve these organizations' interests, Where does that leave the average voter? Another key player is the Vermont Community Foundation. This group acts as a bridge for global philanthropic funds to support projects in Vermont. They focus on social justice, sustainability, and climate action, all tied to international frameworks like the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. But here's the reality. These projects often require new regulations, tax increases, or subsidies, adding yet another layer of burden on Vermonters. It's worth asking, are these philanthropic efforts truly serving Vermonters, or are they advancing global ideologies at our expense? So, what's really happening here? Vermont's citizens, especially those in rural areas, are being outmatched by a monolithic force. Activist groups, often tied to national and global entities, are shaping policies that raise costs, limit economic opportunities, and silence alternative perspectives. It's a classic case of the loudest voices drowning out the quiet majority. But it doesn't have to be this way. Imagine a Vermont where policies reflect the needs of its people, not the priorities of global movements, where the farmer, the shop owner, and the working family have a real say in shaping the future. Isn't that what governance should be about? To get there, we need a balanced conversation. We need to hear from voices across the political spectrum. We need transparency in how public funds are used and more accountability for the organizations shaping these policies. Most importantly, we need solutions that prioritize Vermonters, not international agendas. The truth is, Vermonters deserve better. They deserve policies that make life more affordable, not less. They deserve a government that serves its people, not outside interests. The question is, how much longer will we let this cycle continue? Freedom is the foundation of prosperity. Stay informed, stay vocal, and most importantly, stay free. Thank you for listening to this episode of FYIVT. To read the full article and explore more on what's happening in Vermont and how the state works, visit us at FYIVT.com. We appreciate your support and look forward to continuing to bring you important perspectives on Vermont's most pressing issues. Until next time.